Hello, this is Carrie on my Astro Breeze channel, and today I want to talk a little bit about what a natal chart is, what a birth chart is. So let's just look at something and then we'll kind of build on this. So basically, what we're looking at is something that can describe our persona, our personality, the depth of our being. It can describe us psychologically, physically, our health. It can point to our health challenges as well as our strengths. And the way this is approached, or one way, there's many ways, um, is just to kind of, I like to look at it as where the non-physical and the physical intersect, the roadmap of the being. Because when you are born, this is talking about your birth chart or somebody's birth chart or the birth chart of anything. When something is in this world, this matrix that we're living in, this illusion, however you want to term it, we are looking at some context of reality. We are trying to put something into a three-dimensional form, or more, more dimensions or less, but we're working in that realm. So let's just make it simple. I want to take this concept and try to make it as simple as I can, especially for introducing somebody new to the concept of understanding who they are. So this is a roadmap of you specifically. It is very specific, like a fingerprint. There can be no more. That's just like this. The mathematical statistics are huge, and it would probably be a long time in the future before anything like this ever duplicated. That being said, this is a map of, let's just say, a person, a human, of somebody being born, and that's a very specific time in space. It's a location. Just think about where you were born and the reality around that. So whatever city you were born, whatever house, hospital, uh, taxi cab, back seat, whatever the situation, it's a specific location. And we can get a longitude and a latitude exactly from where it was that you were born, that you came out of your mother. And even if you had a twin, they would be born in a different time. It'd be one than the other. Bloop, bloop. Um, and that is also a specific time and location. So when you actually came out of your mother, you're in a placenta, it bursts, it waters there. You're still connected by the cord, but you are officially out and starting to breathe and be in the world on your own. That is your birth moment. And there's a lot of things about birth. There's, the trauma around birth. How was that experience? Was it a traumatic experience for you as a child? Was the cord wrapped around your neck? Were you forceps delivered? Was it stressful? Was it a long labor? Was it a hard birthing process? What were the whole situations which um, clouds or flavors, let's put it that way, or enhances the time of your birth? Were your parents both there? Were they in the room with you? Did they birth you? Or were you in something really sterile with bright lights and kind of routine? What was the birth experience? That will, be a specific mark on your journey. Nonetheless, we're not going to belabor that, but I want you to think about the very specific place because it's all different. Nobody can have that. You were born at that specific spot at that specific time. That is very unique. Some people might be able to be born either at that spot or at that time, but they're both not the same, so they're going to be different. I just want that to sink in to see how unique we are. This is a fingerprint of time. Think about anybody being born right now, all over the planet. The time is ticking, tick, tick, tick. They're all over. Somebody can't be born in the exact same place as the one. I mean, it's physically impossible. So, with that, let that sink in on how unique you are. All right. So, we can get a map of this. We can take that 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 area and get a longitude and a latitude. We can get the trajectory of where everything was around us. So just close your eyes a moment and just think about, being born and if you're a soul or whatever, can just rise up from that spot and look east, you would see whatever is rising on the horizon. You could see, how do I say it? You could see, whatever it was. Um, you could see anything coming up if it were, whatever time of day, there's planets that rise, everything rises in the east and everything sets in the west, and it could continually all day long, every day. It doesn't change, the earth moves, and that's what gives us, night and day. It rotates, I should say, on its axis, gives us night and day, and then it moves around the sun and it gives us each day as we progress around the year. So all of that changes every day. And we have to have some kind of markers, more than, um, well, there's lots of different markers, but just think in terms of latitude and longitude. That'll make more sense to you right now. But then there's time as well. So if we were to take that and understand like everything's coming, if we look to the east, we would see planets and constellations, things rising, and then we look to the west and we would see things setting. We would look straight up and we would see things overhead, and if we could see through the earth, there are planets and constellations below. So you can look at any app, the heavens and look around and see where things are. That's basically um, it's like looking, and all those things we're looking at are just reference points. They're constellations, but they're not flat. They're deep, right? There's stars that are behind other ones, but from us, it looks like a flat image. I like how the author Dusty White puts it in his book on astrology. He says like animal crackers out there. Don't get hung up on that. They're just markers of the sky. Lets us know as things move around, the cycles. This has nothing to do, this is not superstitious, although it could get perverted. It's like anything else, but this is very mathematical. These spots can be worked out. How do you know, it's like if you didn't believe, how do I say it? Astrology gets a real bad rap. It's because, they have blasphemized it in the newspaper, or they downplay it, they make like oh, if your sun sign is in Taurus, this is happening for you today. If your sun sign is in Gemini, it's happening for you today. Well, we're way much more than that, and it really downgrades it. And I think it has gotten a bad light in different religious sectors, making it seem like it's demonized. But with AI and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, we can't talk about demonization. That is the elephant in the living room, looking at all those negative influences on us. But it's like, again, how you use things. For me, using AI, it's just a deeper search engine. Um, I can see the fallacies when something is wrong, where it hallucinates, and it's just another tool. But nonetheless, all that being said, this is very specific. And how would you know? It's like if you didn't use these things, how would you have a calendar? Because this is based on, mathematical time. How would you have a month? How would you know the year? How would you know it's your birthday every year? When the sun is back to the same place it was when you were born. That's what that means. If that's superstitious, oh my goodness, right? It's like if we can track the moons every month, the full moon, which we know increases, it has a big effect on tides, fishing, bleeding, birth rates. These are known facts. So these have influences on us in this physical world. There's nothing wooey or superstitious about this at all. So what I'm going to explain a little bit is the real kind of science and physicalness behind this and how we can see our uniqueness and understand ourselves, and with that, understand others. Understand why or how we get along with others in certain areas and why and how we don't. Because that's what it's all about. We're in relationships, and sometimes they're great, and sometimes they're sour, sometimes they're, both all the time. But how do we manage to do that? So the first part I feel is knowing yourself. And for me, the study of astrology is a lifelong understanding of myself, of ourselves, of everything. It's putting it into some symbolism that we can understand and have a matrix in your own mind of how to understand this matrix that we're living in. All right, so we have a two-dimensional representation here of kind of our three-dimensional scenario I was describing. Just still consider yourself floating above the hospital bed, or where you're born. Hopefully it was in a nice birthing tub, with dolphins and your parents loving you. If not, we can superimpose that over everybody and send blessings for all ill births. Nonetheless, if you just rise up just your consciousness and look and understand that there are things all around us. So, and we would have a 360-degree map of understanding these areas. I'm not going to get too heavy into the astronomy of it because astrology is astronomy applied. I mean, we look at both as an astrologer. You look at where things are, then you have to understand what it is you're looking at to make it understandable. Otherwise, it's just saying this is over there. It's like, okay, so fine. Well, it's a threat. Okay. Oh, well, that makes a difference. Oh, it's nice. Oh, okay. Whatever it is that's sitting over there. So what I want to introduce you to, and I'm not going to get you lost in the astro limbo or lingo here, of all these because it takes a little bit of an alphabet. It's like before you learn to read, you have to learn the alphabet. Before you learn to write, you have to learn combinations of words and letters to understand how to do that. So astrology is the same way, but not quite as intense. So all of these areas, this is divided, you see, into 12. And what we've done is just made an artificial, um, we've made 12 divisions in space. It's like we're going to just pretend that this all connects in the middle of the earth right here in the center. And this is the big representation of what I mentioned to you. So if we look over to the left, which would be like 9 o'clock, this would be the area. This is the horizon, like right here across the center, like this. Okay. So you're seeing it where my cursor is. That's the horizon line. And over to the left at 9 o'clock area would be the east side. And on the right-hand side would be the west side. So we would see things rising up here, and then we would see things setting down over here on the right-hand side. Rise on the left, goes up to noon, up high on the sky, and then it sets over here, sunset, and then midnight down on the very bottom, and then sunrise again. And I'll put planets in a minute, and I'll show it to you, but I didn't want to confuse you too much. All right, so that is what this is. Now, why is this divided up into 12 spots? Well, we just arbitrarily divided the circle, our whole globe. Imagine the center, and we've divided the whole thing up like in 12. It just makes for a way to look at each area. And each of the 12 divisions represents a month, a month, right? A moon. Anyway, I'm not going to get into calendars at this point, but it represents a whole month. And then there's 12 in the year. So as we look at this whole sector, this is dividing the map up into 12, and that gives us what we're going to call a little division here. All of these are areas of life. We're going to represent areas of life. We're going to call them houses. But they all are, what is the word, analogous to different growths of our spiritual being and physical being. So if we start over here with the first house, let's just give you a real nice analogy, and then you can peg other things on this. This first house is just like a baby being born, a baby, something it's first. It's like all of its attention is on it. It doesn't know anything but itself. A little baby is just all about it. It has no awareness of anything else. It cries, it smiles, it poops, it pees, it drinks, it sleeps, doesn't know anything else. It's all about it. So the first area, the first house is all about whatever it is that's here. Okay. Let's just say all about you on the first level. Just you. It's just your awareness of you. Then as baby grows, it starts to have stuff. It has its mommy, it has its bottle, it has its binky, it has its blankie, it has its dolly, it has its, favorite toy, that is its possessions. And that's what the second area represents. And that's just the natural outgrowth of anything. You first have awareness of yourself and then your stuff. And then the next area, the third area is, well, the communication about this stuff. You cry when you want something, you're hungry. You drop something down, your toy, you want to get it and pick it back up. You make some noise You want attention or you want somebody to, talk to you or pick you up or something, you make a noise. Or if somebody says something to you, you mirror it back. It's the very first communications. These are just outgrowths of how we grow. Then the next area is your awareness of your space. Okay, so you're communicating, you understand that, and then now it's like your space, your crib, your room, your home, your city. It becomes aware of that home base. It starts to enlarge and then the being becomes aware of being more creative. It has, its favorite toys in the room. It has everything stacked up, the bed, the way it is, the sharing of things with your siblings or whatever it is you're doing. You start to expand at home. You're feeling comfortable, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of, I'm giving you really a big overview, of course. Um, so that's where then you're creative at home and you communicate. It's your stuff and it's you. Okay, we're bouncing around. Then you not only you're creative, but you can do things, some talents, so you get put to work. Hey, you have a real good knack for this. Why don't you do this? And I'll pay you a little allowance. Or why don't you do this? Or why don't we um, uh, reward you. Or this area just before it is also where we are on stage and want to share our things like, mommy, look at this, look at me, look at this. And then the next one is where you get looked at. Oh, okay, I'll look at you. And you want some kind of feedback. So this sixth area is also that feedback. It's like that critical advice. Like, well, that was a very good little cartwheel, but you need to point your toes. Oh, okay. Or you need to straighten your legs, they're bent. Oh, okay. That's the feedback that we get. The fifth there is your creations, you're on stage. Here you are performing. Do you make people laugh? Do they love you or do they throw rotten eggs at you? It's the next one, right? That's the natural critique of this area, right? Okay, so that's the first six we've gone through. We, now that we have, say, back up over, okay, we have all about us. We know our possessions. We know how to communicate. We have our home. We know what we want to do and create. We understand some criticism and can make ourselves better. Now we're ready to strut our stuff in front of others, either get friends or loved ones or more partners or, have that unique other relationship, which then you'll notice is opposite of you. So this is very interesting, so we see others mirrored back and forth for ourselves. We start seeing these dynamics now repeat, but on a different level. So the seventh area is now the dynamic of understanding your interaction with others. Although all through then it's not been away from you, just haven't been focused on it. So here's kind of the first outgrowth of that is the area of the seventh area, which is all about partnerships, others, that back and forth. And we go into the next area. And if we go back over here, this was like your stuff, remember? Then this next one is our stuff, where you learn to share and to share resources and have that intimacy with others. First it was your stuff. Now you share it. And it's like, oh, if I was hungry, somebody shared their sandwich with me. Oh, how nice. So we start to see these natural things unite. And then where this third area down here was communicating, it's also the early communications. It's like, again, your neighborhood, how you communicate, siblings, early, schooling, early learning. So the natural opposite would then be the higher learning, distant, going more distance, not just being in your communication, but others. This would be travel, foreign things, it's communication out there. It's just a higher level of it. If this was like communicating just your needs, now you're understanding up here, um, foreign, others, different cultures, different things outside of yourself. And then down here, if we were back at the home, and the fourth area is where you felt comfortable in your home and understanding your place, your home, your room, your space, your tribe, your culture, your ancestry, then this is naturally the 10th area is where you're seen. It's yourself out in the world. It's your occupation. It's not just your job. It's what you like to do. It's where you shine. It's where people see you. It's where you're visible. It's where you make growth and make money and strive for success. And then if we have again, the fifth area was creations. This is going to be an extension of that is creations like in groups. If you are all of a sudden finding that you are an artist, you're going to look for artist guilds or artist schools or artist supplies or anything opposite but bigger, which is like the group side, the bigger aspect of it. And then the last ones are, again, this was the sixth area was the looking at things critically, um, helping shore it up, making the critical or nitpickiness and which is very helpful. But sometimes it's like it gets to be too much. It's like, all right, enough. Don't pick anymore. I need to just expand with and just kind of yin out and chill out and just kind of go back to it all, which is what this 12th area is where it all gets rolled back into one. It's like when you sometimes get overwhelmed and overloaded and have to resort it out, and it's just kind of spaceless and timeless and just chill to get ready to start all over again. And this is the basic cycle of so many things of growth of life of this time matrix space that we're in. So many cycles go through these basic things that I mentioned to you, and that will dovetail over and over in many ways. So let's bring in how it makes us unique. But you're probably wondering what these are on the outside of this. These are the sign markers, and we're just giving these. They originally related to the constellations, but since then we have what's called there's a drift in just our orbit. I'm not going to go deep into that, but when we look at Western astrology, we are just projecting. We're not looking at a animal cracker in the sky. We are just looking actually um, more precisely at the angle of light. But we're using this as just a reference. So what we're gonna, I don't want to confuse you, but these are just reference markers so we can tell where things are at, which I'll show you in a moment. But we're going to just name these, and you can see, like, we're going to look over here on this east side, and it says 13, and you see the little circle, and that would be the degree. And then it has this little glyph, which this one stands for Libra, and then it has 57 minutes. So it's telling me if we that it's 13 minutes, 57 minutes into the sign of Libra at whatever time this was, um, coming up over the horizon. And we know it's like at this well, let's just put it this way. This is like a 30-degree division of the 12 signs. So if we multiply 30 degrees by 12, we'll have 360, which is the full circle. And um, if we were right on the equator, they would all be equal. Okay, just think about that. And because what you're probably looking at these going, oh, they're not quite equal. There's, here's like 13, 16, 16, 14, 12. You see that they're a little unequal. Um, that's because the Earth is round. So if we were at the equator, it would all be equal. And as we go closer to the poles, the more north or south on the planet, the more warped these would appear. The way we would adjust them, um, and they would still all add up to 360. But you can see if we increased, if at 30, if there's, 12 30s, if we made two of them 31, we would have to make two of them 29 to keep our 360 degrees. So basically, it's just a measure in space of that arc or that warped distance, of the Earth at that curve. I told you it gets mathematical. This is nothing woo-woo. This is very mathematical. I don't want to go deep on that, but I just have to explain a little bit as this unfolds. Okay, so that's what these are. These are markers of division. Now let's bring in displayed points. Let me just do an easy one first here. Let's just do the sun. All right, and I'm not sure if you're seeing it. I might have to reshare. Let's just reshare it here. Okay. Okay, so now you'll see a circle with a dot in it. This is the symbol for the sun. And right now, at this time that I'm doing this video, it is August 7th, 2026 at 11:29 a.m. And you can notice August 7th is Leo season, and we are right on in the middle of the sign. We're at 15 degrees Leo today. So that's what that means. So today it says up in the upper left, you'll see August 7th, and it says the time and the date. Okay, so August 7th here. And we see the sun is telling me exactly where it's at. If we were, it's got to make a trek of 30 degrees before it goes into the next sign. So right now it's halfway through Leo. We're in the Leo season. The sun that says it's 15 degrees Leo, 9 minutes. That's what that says. And right now, because it's 11:29 a.m., the sun is high in the sky. Remember, I told you that the left-hand side over here was sunrise, and right up above is noon, more or less. Okay, and I'm 2882. I'm 28 degrees above the equator where I'm at. So it's going to be a little bit off. It's not direct, it's not perfect. But anyway, you can still see at 11:29 how close the sun is to overhead. Now I'm just going to show you, um, we'll just look at hours. I'm going to go back and we'll see, let's see, the sunrise. Okay, if we look at it, like this right here, the sun, like right here, it says 7:29 and it's just popped over the horizon. You see, the horizon was right here. It's just above it. Let me go back an hour. Now it's below the horizon. See, at 6:30 or 6:29, I'm going to go minutes now. I want you to look over here, see that says 6:29, and I'm going to go minutes. I see it says 6:30, 6:31, 32. Okay, I'm going to keep clicking on it, and then I want you to watch the position of the sun here. It's going to come up over the horizon. See, and I'm just going up minutes. 52, 53, 54, 55. This is 7. Okay, 6:55, 6:56, 7, 8, 9. Yep, 7. It looks like right at 7 o'clock today. 7 o'clock today. It went over. Sunrise was 7 o'clock. Exactly. Within some seconds. Okay, here where I'm at 28 degrees. I'm in Florida. So I'm going to go back now to hours and I want you to watch. We'll go see when it's going to set. Hours. Okay, it's 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, 12 o'clock still in the 10th house. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's like a little after 8. Watch probably today. Almost 8, what, 8? 8:13. It sets. So we could go check and it would be that. So 8:13 p.m. right here in upper left, it told me what time the sun set, and we just saw it. It went below this line. This is the horizon line. Cool, huh? All right, let's bring in the other points. And let's do this one. Okay. And then let me just make sure you're seeing this. I should note it. Make sure you can see it. All right. Now, I brought in all these other things. These are symbols of some of these bodies, planets, and some of them aren't. Some of them are asteroids. Some of them are just points. I don't want you to get freaked out on all those things. But these are other planets and things in the sky. So let me just point out, like right now, well, let's go to right now. Let me go back. Hours. This I like to be on top, so it's easier to see. All right, so we're about 11, I'm gonna be like 11:13 right now. So here we have the sun up here, and excuse me, we have Jupiter. You can see this thing that looks like the number 4, kind of a fancy 4. It says that it's 8 degrees Leo also, and this is the sign for Jupiter. Um, this is just a point. Don't worry about this X at the moment. I have several other things on here. Um, this one over here with the little hat on it that looks like a little horned hat and or a little weird hat and then a little body, that's Mercury. And the planet is interesting. The planet Mercury will always be close to the sun. It's like never far away from the sun. It'll never be on the other side. But anyway, I digress. This over here on the top of the chart with the circle with the arrow, this is Mars. I mean, that looks like a Mars, right? An arrow or something. And then, of course, this one that looks like the half moon is the moon. Right now, the moon is in Gemini. It's at 5 degrees Gemini. And it's right next to Uranus. Uranus is 5 degrees. It's like right there, right now. Well, conjunct. Conjunct means they're together. Moon moves fast. Okay, it moves every 2.5 days, it'll change into a new sign, but that's another lesson. Okay, just getting with some of these things. This down here, which is about ready to set, is Saturn. This back up here is Chiron. This is an asteroid. the planet Neptune just set. These things that look like barbells are the moon nodes. This is basically a point in space where if you just think about, just close your eyes and think about, the moon um, going around the Earth and then the Earth going around the sun, the point where they intersect. Those spots where the moon going around the Earth and that intersects with the plane of the sun. There's like certain planes. I told you it's mathematical. Anyway, those are those points right now. Those are called nodes of the moon. And whenever we have the eclipses, you'll see the sun and the moon close to those points, which I'll show you in a minute. Nonetheless, okay, going around. This down here is Pluto. This is a sign for the symbol for Pluto. Right up over here that it's just finished rising. This is Venus, and then we come back around here to the sun. And these just constantly move around and around. And you will notice that they have different degrees. They are in different signs, all right? And they're constantly moving, of course. So let's just pretend that whoever this person is, let's say this is your birthday, or whoever it is, born right now, whoever we're going to look at, and we're seeing all of this on the spot. Now we can start making sense of things once we know what we're looking at. So we're seeing that there's there's all these planets and they're in the same in different signs. They're sprinkled around this circle. And we can see just by, what I went through, where the emphases are. Emphases? Remember we said the first house was where it's like all about me. I'm the baby I was born, and then me, my stuff, and my communications, and then my home, and my creations, and then my nitpickiness, and then my others, and then our other stuff, and foreign things and out beyond me, and then how my career and things, how people look at me and my groups and my endings. Okay, all the way around. So those areas, they all have a sprinkling of some of this stuff. So what could we say if we look at this? We're not going to get into what all this means at the moment, but the first thing my eye looks at is like, how much of this circle has the stuff sprinkled in it? And this one's pretty wide. I mean, not, everything can't be everywhere because there's only 10 things. I should take out some of the things that don't matter, but it wastes too much time for now. So we could see though that there's a sprinkling quite a bit all the way around here. There's only 3 areas that don't have anything, but they still have a sign on their door. This is a door to each area. So this is, it's got a flavor. This first area here is flavored by Libra. This is a Libra rising. The person would have that area of Libra rising up. So that denotes the way they look, how they are. This person is probably anything with Libra rising usually is more refined, more aesthetic, prettier or handsomer, or again, more refined aesthetic because that's that type of tendency. And then Libra is also diplomatic. It's concerned with others. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just give you a little overtone of how we look at that. So that is the tone of this. So this person probably has more of a refined outer appearance. They're probably be more concerned with their appearance than other areas. But because there's nothing heavy in here, they may not be vain or egotistical. Um, Okay, so anyway, then we would look like where the sun. Okay, sun is in Leo, so that we would have the Leo traits. Leo is from the heart and gregarious and fun and loud and happy and regal and kingly, queenly, and it could get arrogant. But it also is from the heart, depending on. I mean, there's good sides of things and bad sides. Everything goes extremes, but that's the Leo side. Let's look at the moon. The moon is over here in Gemini, so their moon is, all of our moons are how we process information. It's how we feel about it inside. The information is different. It's coming in, but then how do we feel about it? Are we airy? Are we earthy? Are we emotional? How do we take in and handle all the stuff that's coming in at us? What's our moods? Do we like routines? Do we not like routines? What's our schedule? The moon is cyclic. Do we have cycles? We have a rhythm? In this one, it's in Gemini is a very busy, open, communicative, mental sign, quite different than where the moon is more inner and emotional. So this one is, is going to have more um, more lively, and it's right here on the planet of Uranus. So there's going to be some maybe bringing things out of the blue, being emotionally up and down, being um, bringing in things that are out just out there. Okay, so anyway, everything has a basic meaning. It has not only of it in itself, like I said, the moon in and of itself is like how we process our emotions. And then where it is, it's in a sign and in a house. Okay, so it has double meaning. Okay, so we would first take that moon meaning, and then we would say it has that Gemini meaning, which would make it more busy and communicative, but then it's also in the eighth house of other stuff. So we get to kind of it's like you're multiplex thinking. This is not simple by no means. This is very complicated, but it's so worth it because it really describes how we are. And it's a study. First, finding somebody to help you understand this, but now there's so many apps and programs that you can get basic meanings of all this stuff. And you can start seeing how things will interrelate. And because we're complicated beings, we often see many conflicting things. One says you're good at relationships, one says you're bad at relationships, or whatever. Yeah, I'm just overstating it. Well, there's tendencies of both. It's like we are complicated. It's like you might have it great if it's this way, but not so great if it's that way. And it's good to explore and understand and know those things about you. All right, what else is something that would be very easy to just give you some overviews? There's different qualities of these signs. Okay, they all have different natures. Um, and this is one thing that I love in the book. And it's on the Udemy course too. There's a free Udemy, Udemy. It's like a university online, but there's a free one on astrology, the easiest way to learn astrology ever by Dusty White. Great, great book and a great course. Easy, very simple. But anyway, I like how he teaches it. He gives you, before he gives you all of these things, he kind of breaks it down into very simple means. But anyway, anything has that we're looking at has an either, let's say, a binary quality, like masculine, feminine, black, white, light, dark, however you want to term that, hot, cold, off, on, 0, 1, and then every other would be, all the odd numbers and then all the even numbers. Okay, think about it that way. Let's just use masculine, feminine. That's kind of a traditional way. All the odd numbers might be masculine, outward, pushing, aggressive. All the even numbers would be feminine, inner, calm, receiving, like penis, like vagina. I mean, it gets very basic like this. And I'm not I'm not blaspheming it by no means. I'm just trying to simplify how things are on our matrix. All right, so we have that. So we've got like again, odd, even, masculine, feminine, outward, inward. And then everything has one of those values. Then they also have they're part of something that would be like beginning, middle, end, like the seasons. Think about it. We have like say March 21st starts Aries. That would be the beginning of spring. April 21st starts beginning of Taurus. That's the middle of spring. And then like June 20th, whatever it is, 21st, is the end of spring. That would be the beginning of Gemini, beginning, middle, end of the season. And then we do the same thing with the next season. Did I say the right date? Um, April, May, June of June, yeah. And then we get into Cancer season and then Leo and then all the way around. So anyway, there's the beginning, middle, end of each season. Okay, that's another thing that all of this would have. And then there's one more, the elements. Each of these signs is related to an element. So they would be fire, earth, air, and water. And they repeat fire, earth, air, water. So if we go back to our Aries, it's say the first, so that would be masculine or outward. And then it's also a what we call the beginning or a cardinal sign. It's a beginning of spring. It's a beginning. So it's the beginning of something is different than a middle of something. or an end, right? So it has those qualities. And then it also is the first, so it's a fire. Fire is like phew, it's initiatory. And what is spring like? We go from the doldrums of winter to, the spark of spring. That's just one thing. I mean, and I know in the southern hemisphere it's different, but I'm just giving you an analogy. Um, you're turning a light on. You go from nothing all of a sudden to something. That is that spark. It's there. Boom. Okay. So anyway, we have those three things that would then be, you've got a multiple, you've got something that represents all three of those, and that has it's different for the each of the 12. They have all the different combinations of those, and that's what makes it unique. So when we look at ourselves, we start to understand that. So again, let's look at the sun. The sun here is in Leo. Leo is in the middle of summer. So this is a fixed or middle. Leo is fixed sign, or what's called the middle of the season, and it's the sustaining part of summer. It's hot, or on the other side of the earth, it's cold. It's sustaining of whatever that is. Um, it's also a fire sign. Okay, so it's also masculine. Would be, it's like positive, negative, positive, negative. But it's in the middle. The moon. Let's look at that. The moon is it's naturally a feminine, but it's in a masculine sign. And it's in an air sign, and it's in a mutable sign, or the end of that season. Gemini is the end of spring. So anyway, we're just wrapping up all those qualities. This person's the way they feel would be more airy, would be maybe more mental. Anyway, we would then go all the way around. One thing I do want to point out is something, when we're looking at ourselves, these are important to understand. And then when we're looking at others. So for instance, the couple of big ones, the where the person, how they think is where and communicate is where your Mercury is. And that's again always close to the sun. And this person's Mercury is right here in the sign of Cancer. So Mercury thinking would be in Cancer would be more inward, more about home, more about family. It's more emotional, watery. So this person is going to be thinking um, and having, maybe they will like to be um, explaining their emotions through their thoughts. They'll tell you how they feel. Now, if this person was, say, with somebody that was a very fire mental sign, it may not, they would not maybe be listened to, because the fire mental sign does not want to take time, maybe, in to deal with the emotional thoughts. So this is interesting when we're starting the dynamics of yourself with other people. And a lot of times when we meet people, we meet them on our appearances, and it takes a while to penetrate in and be where who you really are. So sometimes later on in relationships, you find that maybe you were attracted to more surface appearances or surface areas and not the deeper ones. And that's where some disagreements can arise. But I think life is all about teaching us how to use all of these energies. So when nature combines all of these all the time. And sometimes we find that they change, and we need to either change within ourselves or somehow bring in information to help the change externally. It's a bit of both. So understanding this energy, I'm going to wrap it up for now. I'll go deeper on some others, but just to give you an overview, understanding this energy, all of this has significance, and then if I roll these around, see now, if this person were born here, it'd be totally different. I mean, basically things are the same, because they're like the sun in Leo is not going to change, but it's now over in this area where before it was over in this area. Well, that has a whole different influence. Totally. It's in a different sector of life, of house, of this area. This is in the nitpicky, helpful kind of side, where over here wasn't. So every 2 hours, basically, it changes. And I'm just going to give you some basics, averages. So in 24 hours, all of these go through, because there's 12. So if it's 2 hours each of these will change like every 2 hours. And then if I go like by the minute, you'll again see, like, look at this one here on the beginning. It says 26 Pisces and just watch, like, see how long it's like taking there before it finally changes. So many, right? It's going to be a while before it, see how slow it goes. Anyway, okay, so these roll around and you can see how all of this would be different. Now I'm going to give you one more quick thing. These I gave you the bit on how this all rolls. Now it makes a huge difference, like where they are. Like I said, then right now these, like this one now has four areas that don't have anything in it, but then there's more pushed together on other areas. Now, one more thing, all of these have now relationships between each other. We can look at mathematical relationships between them. For instance, you can understand what an opposition would be, and we can see, like over here, this is almost totally opposite. Like here, we can see this line. Let me draw. Just draw this for you. You can see it here. I'm talking about. All right, so these are opposite, and we can check the degrees too. This says 4 degrees, and this is 8, so it's almost perfect, right? It's like just 4 degrees off of being exactly opposite. All right, so what does that mean? Well, opposites attract, or opposites reveal to each other what you can't see about yourself, or they're pulling in opposing directions. One is going, one is hot, one's cold, one is day, one's night. Um, so you get to both of those, they balance and they conflict. Okay, so that's just one mathematical angle. Let me just show you a couple more. Okay, so we have oppositions, things that are opposite. And then we also have things that are square. Okay, so there's a 90-degree angle here, and this was 0 and this is 4. So it's pretty close. We did those little difference between exact are called orbs of influence. It's like somebody doesn't have to be right next to you for you to smell them, right? So think about it that way. There's an orb of influence, okay? And certain things you could smell closer than others. Anyway, that's kind of how I'm going to put this for now. But we can see now this is a square. So this is going to be like conflictive. You see, it's like it's not only oppositional. I mean, it's like that's one thing, but this is like different. It's like instead of going straight now, you got to go left or right, which is different. And it's like whole different type of challenging energy. Then there's, I want to get a trine here for you. Let's get here. So, how do we do this one? Okay, so here's a trine. Okay, so this would be 120 degrees. So, it's like oh, let's get it about right. Okay, so if I did three of those, you could see the triangle, right? So there would be the 120 degrees, because 3 times 120 is 360. We go back to the circle. So anyway, we can see that trine in there. All right, so let me just get rid of that because that's going to nothing, but I just wanted you to see the thing. Okay, but anyway, there's that trine, and then there's other mathematical relationships, but those are the big ones that we look at. Again, you can look at so many, and that's what's so cool and geeky and nerdy and fun and specific. One of the things about astrology, but this tells you so much. And this is, again, just a brief introduction to just looking at this. Again, it makes a big difference, if things are, say, above, if things are above the horizon or versus below, things above, you like to be seen and visible. Are things on the bottom, not as much, especially if they're, more private, like the moon. That's your inner feelings. You might not want them to be out, and seen and visible. Some people do. When people have moon up here in this 10th house area, they love, a lot of singers and politicians love to be up there bloviating and singing and careening and, look at me, oh, Anyway, these are all we start putting these together and we can see how we are. And I'm laughing because it's all so fun. I look at myself, and it helps keep me humble, and that also fits in with and how I react with other people. Also, left and right, things more on the right hand side, bunch more on the right hand side. Those are more dealing with others and dealing with other people and other things. A lot more people are very people oriented. And then a lot of planets on the left hand side, and not as much on the right, would be more selfish, self oriented. I don't want to say selfish, but sometimes, introverted, introspective, um, looking at yourself, not engaging with others and people, loners. So anyway, we all have different aspects of all those, and it's fascinating to take it all apart. So I hope this opened a little bit of what a birth chart is, a birth analysis, how we are all same but different. We all have these areas, but they're inflections and colored all differently, and it makes us unique. And we all have, we interact, and we can see there's certain angles that might be irritating about people and conditions than others. Some people, explains why you would get along or not get along with certain people in certain areas. Again, some people you might get along great with this, but you don't over on this side. You're great on this, but you disagree on politics. Yeah, whatever. And this type of thing helps explain it and helps you to navigate and understand. All right. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.